Everybody, this is the digital asset investor. I wanted to, I've got a pretty long video for you today because some interesting information has come out and I was going to go over it. But first, I wanted to address a sentiment that I know is out there amongst many of you and kind of let you know how I've always thought about things as far as investing goes. And I'm sure most of you have heard the term contrarian investor. And basically, I've always thought of a contrarian. I've always been a contrarian. Just because everybody's doing it does not mean that it's smart and does not mean that it's the right thing. And I wanted to talk about this with you because many people, it's easy, especially when the market's down, to fall into that negative thinking and second guess yourself about what you know to be true in your heart. And first, I should say, I've told you before, I've been studying Ripple and XRP for the past 4 or 5 years, and so there is no question in my mind about whether I'm doing the right thing. I am doing the right thing, and being on the side of right is what matters to me when it comes to investing or anything really. But first, I wanted to at least go over what is a contrarian investing. This is from Wikipedia. Is an investment strategy that is characterized by purchasing and selling in contrast to the prevailing sentiment of the time. And the greatest example of this, and one I'm actually going to give you guys some homework, but it's the fun kind of homework. It's watching a movie. I had someone in my in the comments section tell me that what I'm talking about reminds them of the movie The Big Short, which I had seen. The Big Short is a great movie, and it's based on a true story. And I encourage all of you, if you have not seen it, and if you have seen it, watch it again. I actually watched it again today because of the comment that was in my comment section, just to remind me of exactly how parallel what we're going through right now is. I've done all the study. I've looked at it through a common sense lens, and I looked at the evidence of what's coming and what people are doing and what big money is doing and how they're ramping up and all of the things that are being done behind the scenes that I tell you about all the time to move the world towards cryptocurrencies and to build out this industry. And it's all there. It's all right in front of our face if we're looking for it. And The Big Short is a movie that's about this same kind of thing. It's about the financial crisis back in 2009. And I wanted to kind of go through with you what happened during that time and kind of what the movie's about. I'll give you the gist of it, but basically in a nutshell, for those of you that don't know or were not around or you're too young to know how all that happened, in a nutshell, it's like this. First, our government back 30 years ago came up with, we had mortgages, but the concept of mortgage-backed securities was come up with back in about 30 years ago. And what that basically was is that they would wrap all mortgages into, they would group them up, and then they would sell mortgage-backed securities as an investment. And what happened over time is people got greedier and greedier. Mortgage brokers, banks, and everybody else got greedy, and they started issuing mortgages that were worthless. They were issuing mortgages to people who had no business buying a home. I even remember back during the financial crisis talking to a mortgage person, and they had, back then, they had mortgages, and you would buy a you would go and sit down with the mortgage person, and they would ask for your income, and they want you to prove the amount of money you make. But well, back in 2009, I remember it like it was yesterday. The mortgage broker used the term stated income loan to me, and at that time they talked about it like it was just normal. But what stated income meant was, I'm not going to ask you for any documentation of what your income is. You just tell me what it is and we'll just put it through. That's what it was. And it was that crazy. And they were issuing mortgages that were called ARMs, where it was interest only and interest only loans. And then if interest rates ever started to go up, you would be paying more and more per month in your mortgage. It was a game that was bound to implode. Well, The Big Short is a movie about this industry and how a handful of people started actually looking at these mortgage-backed securities, and they started saying, "Wait a minute, when all of these ARMs, because with an ARM there was a time limit, and then it could go up. They would lock you in at a certain interest rate for say 5 years, and then many of them would come at a given point, would the interest rates could move at that point. And so these guys were looking at these mortgage-backed securities, and they said, well, at some point in the future, on such and such date, many of these ARMs are going to they'll be open then, where they can the interest rates can go up on them, and at that point many of these people will stop paying. And it's bigger than what I just described, but that's one part of it. And so these guys basically shorted the entire market, and so that's what this movie's about. But also a big huge part of it, and this applies to what you guys are going through and what I'm watching. It doesn't bother me because I know where this all ends, but some of you it bothers. And so you have to understand, sometimes our world is designed almost like a rigged game. And so I want you to look, like when you turn on CNBC, these guys, many of them are saying things and they have no idea what they're talking about. You'll hear them say things about the cryptocurrency industry and they have no idea what they're talking about. I've seen it many times. Having an in-depth view of an in-depth understanding of XRP and Ripple, I've seen these guys talk about Ripple many a time and they have no idea what they're talking about. But what happens is it's kind of like a group think, and the people on Wall Street, they all begin to think alike and they all begin to say the things they've heard other people on Wall Street say, and that's how it works up there. But let me show you what happened. This is part of the Big Short movie as well. This happened. This was an article I found called "The Indisputable Role of the Credit Ratings Agencies in the 2008 Collapse and Why Nothing Has Changed." Well, we live in a world where the S&P ratings agency, Moody's, Fitch is another one. There are 3 or 4 or 5 ratings agencies that basically are allowed to put out, say, oh, well, we say this is rated AAA and therefore it's a safe investment. Well, back during the financial crisis, all of those companies, not all, but most of those companies were giving all of those mortgage-backed securities ratings that they did not deserve. These people were being paid, if you can imagine this, and this is how this industry works to this day. It's never been fixed. When Goldman Sachs puts out a mortgage-backed security, or Morgan Stanley or any of these companies put out a mortgage-backed security or any type of investment vehicle, and S&P and Moody's and these guys are rating these things, they're actually being paid by Goldman Sachs and by Morgan Stanley and by Merrill Lynch, and they're being paid by the same guys that are asking them to rate the product. So what do you think happens? What happens is what happened in 2008. The whole system becomes a rigged game, and you're not necessarily being told the truth. So in 2000, in the financial crisis, eventually they had Moody's. Here's just an article where Moody's had to pay a penalty for, basically they had all these mortgage-backed securities rated AAA and all this all the way up until the very end when the collapse happened. And at that point, oh, okay, now, and then all of a sudden they downgraded the ratings on all of them. Well, that doesn't do anybody any good. I'm sure there were trillions of dollars lost, and these guys got an $864 million slap on the wrist, and they're still in business, and they do the same thing that they always did, all of them. And so my point in telling you all this is, just because everybody's trying to say things to you about the cryptocurrency market that are going to scare you, oh, it's going to go further down, and that is all smoke and mirrors. What's important is not what they say. What's important is the research that you've done. And like when I'm telling you something, don't take my word for it. Go and look up what I'm telling you. What's important is the research that you've done, the evidence you gather on what you're investing in, backed by your common sense and ultimately your gut, but only after you've done your research. These people, I wouldn't listen to them for anything. I do my research, and then I go with my gut and my common sense after doing that. And you should too. So let me show you some more of my research now. I just wanted to go through that because being a contrarian is the right way, because you don't just follow the sheep because the sheep said you should follow them. That's not how you invest. That's not how money's made, not the real money. Okay, now let's go back and start looking at some XRP evidence again. Okay, this past week, SBI Holdings, remember SBI Holdings owns 10.5% of Ripple. The reason I want to go over this past week, SBI was a part of a blockchain event over in Japan. The CEO of SBI, who is a huge Ripple fan, obviously, and he's been on Twitter many times talking up XRP and how he knows it's going to go well. He's even made a $10 price prediction for 2018. But what we've never really had until today is, because since SBI's in Japan, there's been a very limited amount of information that we could get in English that we could actually understand about SBI. Now, I found this on the Ripple Reddit. Somebody had made a post, and you can go there and get the link. You can see the link for this. It's a PDF where you can get the link, the English version that you're looking at here. I encourage you to read through the whole thing. I went through it and I found the best pages that I could find that I thought was the most interesting parts of this, and that's what I want to go over with you today. Okay, I'm going to start with page 47, so you'll just have to bear with me when I go try to get to these pages. Ironically, page 47, now I believe it's something I've either talked about or I've read before, but the first slide, come on, bear with me here. The first slide is about Morningstar Japan, and I think I read this back then. On April 20th, Morningstar Japan launched My Cryptocurrencies, a mobile optimized cryptocurrency information app. All right, the reason I wanted to show you this slide is to illustrate a point, and also before I forget, it also said that it's going to be translated articles by CoinDesk. So anyway, the app, this Morningstar Japan app, will have articles by CoinDesk, and they're also going to have cryptocurrencies in it. But the point of this slide is, and the point that I wanted to drive home is, even after the financial crisis, as much credibility as S&P and Moody's and all these ratings, Morningstar is another ratings agency, and as much credibility as many of them lost during the financial crisis, that they haven't gone anywhere. This is still a part of our world, and so for us as XRP investors, this is a very important part of our investment. And the reason it is because these companies will be rating XRP and all these cryptocurrencies at some point, and XRP will be one of the ones rated at the very top. But I wanted to show you this so that you understand this is going to be on the front to the middle end of the huge money that's going to pour into cryptocurrencies. When you start seeing ratings agencies popping up and getting interested in rating cryptocurrencies, that's what most people in the world that are making investments are looking at. The ratings agencies, or they're looking at those people for credibility. I don't know why. In my opinion, I give them no credibility after the financial crisis, but most of the population looks at the ratings agencies to decide how they're going to invest. And so this is a huge part of it's one leg of the stool that's being put together, the infrastructure for cryptocurrencies to be as popular as the stock market or anything or any other investment. Okay, I'm going to page 68 now. Now, like I said, you guys should go look at this, and you may find some things that you find more interesting than the ones I found, but the ones I found I think are pretty darn good. Okay, first of all, this slide right here, I only showed this slide because we've talked a lot about SBI VC, venture capital. I'm sorry, not venture capital. SBI virtual currencies, which opened to 20,000 customers this past month, and it's opening up to general applications in July. I'm going to go more into that. I'm going to give you some actual numbers here in a minute. But what I wanted you to go and look at this whole PDF yourself for is so you can see just how massive SBI Holdings is. SBI Holdings, they've got insurance, they've got banks, they've got securities. But this slide right here illustrates what they're going to be doing with SBI securities and venture, I keep saying venture capital, SBI securities and SBI virtual currencies. They're creating, you see this synergy here. What they're showing you here is how the customers that they have at SBI securities and the customer, this is their net bank, but the customers that they have in their net bank and the customers they have in SBI securities, they're showing you how they're going to create a synergy between all of their different branches of SBI Holdings so that the money can flow. In other words, a guy who's a customer at their net bank will be able to transfer his money into SBI securities, and then he'll be able to get digital currencies, XRP. And what that does is it opens up XRP to be available to several different branches of SBI Holdings. And it opens it up for us to millions and millions and millions more customers that are with SBI in a different, they could be with some bank, a small bank in SBI, and they're allowing them to, they're creating this synergy so that they can, look here, they said it right here, simultaneous display of accounts and easy access to stock trading platforms of, this would give their net bank, it basically creates this synergy. It's awesome. So you'll have SBI VC and SBI Securities and NetBank, and they will all be able to move money within these things. That's huge for us. All right, on to the next one. Page 83 is the next one that caught my eye. And there, I think I just put this one in here. I just put this one in here because it was the first thing, the one that I saw them mention Ripple. And this is about this CB Insights. They awarded, it says SBI Group received the world's top class ranking for investments into the fintech field. Now I wonder why CB Insights wanted to include, thought that Ripple would be considered top class ranking for investments into the fintech industry. I just thought this was interesting. They put SBI Holdings as investors in fintech above Google, Overstock, Citi, and Goldman Sachs. That's pretty important right there. Okay, let's go on to the next one. This is these are fixing to get more interesting. As I go along here, I believe that I'm going to make your weekend with the next few slides. Okay, let's get to 117. These are huge, the ones coming up. All right. Okay. All right, here we go. This is what this slide was talking about SBI virtual currencies. There's been a lot of speculation about all of this, and so this is the first time we've had an actual slide in English that's telling us exactly. This is from SBI's CEO. This is telling us what they're going to do. They launched the thing, like I said, to 20,000 customers on June 4th. Okay, so right here, I love how they included the XRP sign there. All right, so on June 18th, pre-order service, they launched it to 20,000 customers. They're saying July 18th, it's scheduled. They're not saying an exact date. They're also going to open up to Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin and start accepting general account applications. So this has been their testing phase. This is when it all comes in, okay? And it says they will provide the world's foremost trading environment by utilizing, they're going to use NASDAQ's trading system. Okay, so this is, I'm telling you, this is going to be huge. This right here, you stand to make more money just from Japan than the U.S. is so far behind Japan on all, and the Asia on all of this. It's not even funny. And I'll stop here. I want to tell you something, because I'm going to put this in a graphic that represents this entire video. I believe that all of us that are XRP holders, this is what I truly believe, we are going to make so much money just off what happens in Japan and Asia, that the U.S., that money will be what I call just gravy, the gravy or the cherry on top. But I believe that there's going to be so much money made just from what happens in Japan, not a year from now, but soon, as in the next month. I believe it's going to be an unimaginable movement in XRP over, and it could be 1 month, but this stuff is actually being put in motion as of this month. Okay, on to the next one. That was 117. I also had 118. Now here, this is where you get to see the actual numbers. SBI virtual currencies, they'll pursue synergies, back to that word we were talking about a minute ago. Okay, this right here is what you need to see and remember, and this right here should make your weekend by itself, but I'm going to make it more here in a second. At the launch full-scale services, expecting customer inflow from the SBI Group's customer base. This is the first time I've seen this figure. Their customer base, SBI Group, is 23.47 million people. Okay, but for right now, they're saying that SBI Securities will have this is in July, this is this coming month, 4.26 million accounts with SBI Securities. SBI NetBank, okay, 3.21 million accounts is what they have. SBI Liquidity Market, their SBI FX Trade, has 1.05 million accounts. This is a massive amount of customers that are about to have access directly from the Japanese yen into XRP. So get ready. Okay, now we're going to page 121. Now this one right here, I believe, okay, this one I included because of this. We've seen this from the CEO's tweets before, but I thought that it was interesting. This is how confident that he is. He keeps saying it. Don't drop down, come on. SBI, right here. SBI virtual currencies will become an overwhelming #1 exchange platform by providing the narrowest spreads. And then he says, they say it again here. SBI virtual currencies will likewise provide the narrow spreads as well as a high level of security, and will grow into an overwhelming #1 position within the industry. So feel great about being an XRP investor. All right, here comes the slide that you need to let sink in, and let it sink in very, very well. This is number 129. This is coming from one of the largest bank holding companies in the world. Cryptocurrency market size is expected to expand, and it shows you that today we're below 282 billion, but it shows you that right now it's at 282 billion. They do an arrow like this. They say expected to expand as the actual demand increases. Some anticipate US dollars 40 trillion in the future. 40 trillion in the future, okay? You might want to print this slide and put it on your wall, because this is what I believe too. I believe that our worst case scenario is 20 trillion. I believe that it's more likely going to be between 40 and 100 trillion before this is over. Now, think about that in terms of there being 10 to 15 billion in XRP right now. And the number I always think of is that I can't really remember exactly what it was, so I don't want to say it out of turn. But my calculations had XRP in December when things were going crazy. Based on what I saw, when the overall market was at about $1 trillion, XRP would be at about $5. So what would happen if it was 20 trillion or 40 trillion or 100 trillion? I've done some of those kind of numbers before, but what's important is that's the kind of returns that are coming. And it's not just me saying this. This is, I mean, these are the kind of numbers I'm seeing from venture capitalists. Now, this is the first time I've seen it as a forecast from SBI. But this right here, I think is an average of what's going to happen, honestly. Okay, moving on. Okay, now it's time to talk about X current. Okay, and this is what I want you to see, because I believe that this is the first time that we've really seen somebody come out. Well, I mean, I guess they've said it in so many words from Ripple, but this is SBI, who, remember, those of you that have not heard me talk about this, the first thing SBI did when they bought 10.5% of Ripple is they went and formed the Japanese Bank Consortium. They got together like 60 something of Japan's banks. It comprises 80% of the banks, and the whole purpose of it was to tie all of those banks together through apps on their customers' phones, so that money could flow between all of those banks through Ripple, X current, okay, and eventually XRP, or at least eventually XRP has always been the theory, or it's always been what people hoped would happen. But I believe the slides I'm fixing to show you show you that that's the plan, and it's the plan of SBI in conjunction with Ripple. Look up here in the top left corner. It says it's showing you their phases of development. Okay, that's the point of this. Okay, the business area separation. It shows you this. This shows you Ripple for international remittance, but it says investment phase. Okay, this is SBI investing in Ripple. Money transfer innovation. Okay, we're still, and so now we're in Ripple. Now they've made the investment. We're in the Ripple introduction phase. Okay, so it says SBI invests in Ripple. Now they form SBI Ripple Asia, and it shows you this, and then it comes down here and it shows you they form the Japan Bank Consortium. Okay, and people, by the way, people online, I've heard the word consortium. I've heard it my entire life said both ways, consortium or consortium. I don't know why that bothers people so much, but I think you can call it both ways, but who knows? But I don't know why people have been commenting, you're saying it's wrong, it's consortium, but I don't really know, to be honest, but I'll say consortium from now on if that makes y'all feel better. But anyway, they formed the Japanese Bank Consortium, okay? 80% of Japan's banks are in this consortium. Okay, so then they've still got this called Ripple Introduction, and now they're going into what they call the diffusion phase. Okay, this is where they I've talked about this. I believe they created there was an app created called Money Tap. Okay, and this app is for the purpose of the customers being able to have this app, and they would be able to transfer money through X current. Okay, and they see right here they mention X current. Okay, so right now they're talking about X current. Go down to we're in the Ripple diffusion phase. Okay, Japan-Korea remittance experiment between 37 of the Japanese Bank Consortium banks and Korean banks, Wuri Bank, Shinhan Bank, 37 banks. They're testing and they're testing X current. Okay, and that's still in what they call the diffusion phase. Next, Ripple introduction and diffusion phase still. Now they're talking about launching the first remittance service in Asia utilizing the solution of Ripple between Japan and Thailand. Okay, and they keep mentioning here utilizing the X current, formerly Ripple solution. Okay, so all of these different things going on are testing phases. They're utilizing X current. Okay, and then we're still in the Ripple diffusion phase. And then you get to this slide, and then they bring up how Santander Bank releases the international remittance app utilizing Ripple's X current. They keep mentioning X current. OnePay FX is what they named their thing. Okay, and then you get to this slide, and this one right here, of everything I've said besides the 40 trillion, this right here, you should go into your weekend saying to yourself, I did the right thing. My gut was right all along, because cryptocurrencies and I think Brad Garlinghouse, I named my channel, by the way, Digital Asset Investor, because I heard Brad Garlinghouse, he's always been measured in his words, and he kept saying digital asset. And so I decided that since I'm a fan of XRP, I wanted to call it a digital asset, even though I make the mistake of calling it cryptocurrency and all this every once in a while. XRP is a digital asset, and you'll notice here that SBI uses that term too, so we should all use it as well. But this slide right here is the most important slide I've shown you here today, because SBI has put all of this in as phases for a reason. This is the final phase of the plan, and SBI is they're right there with these banks. They've got relationships with, and they've created this Japanese bank consortium for a reason. And here it says, next generation remittance platform by US Ripple with distributed ledger technology reinforced by digital asset XRP. And this they put in red for a reason. Commission fee and transaction period shortens dramatically by excluding corresponding bank, using that XRP for liquidity. This is the final phase of the plan. And they're telling you right here that it's going to happen. They're telling you right here. Well, that's gonna be all that I say, but this right here is everything. It's everything. This right here is gonna change our lives. This slide right here and what they're telling you is what's gonna change our lives. Okay, I got two things I want to talk about before I go. First thing, my 300 XRP giveaway ends on Sunday, July 1st. If you want to be in the contest, what we're doing is I want you to post a picture. If XRP did ever hit the $589 bearable guy prediction for XRP, what would you do? What would be the first thing you would want to buy or do with your XRP? What is your dream? This guy right here wrote me, after raising a family fund, buying the dream house and holiday home in south of France, this is my dream car ever since childhood. To me, this is what makes all of this interesting, besides knowing that we did the right thing. In order to be eligible, you got to do these hashtags and hit me up too. And then on your picture, you have got to watch the Digital Asset Investor on YouTube. I'm trying to get more and more subscribers so that I can bring you more content. Okay? Well, that's the contest. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is I'm getting a lot of people. I've got a lot of people. I think that you guys are starting to get it. The safest way for, I say it over and over, because I've been the victim, and my family members have been the victim of having our cryptocurrency stolen. So I know it can happen. Okay. The only safe way to store digital currency is on the Ledger Nano S. The Ledger wallet is a hard wallet so that you're storing it offline. Okay. And so I have a link in the description of every video I do where you can click and you can go straight to Ledger, the company, to buy your Ledger Nano S, which is all. Do not go somewhere else. Go straight to Ledger to buy it, because they have had some issues if you don't buy it directly from the company, where people have been taken advantage of. All right. But I've been getting a lot of requests about this for me to show them videos. But I wanted to make a point. When you go to Ledger's website, they have a section, it's the videos section. They have all the videos you could ever want that are better than anything I could ever produce about how to use the Ledger Nano S. And this is what I want y'all to do. Even before you buy it, go and watch some videos and see what I saw. I watched these videos before I bought one. So go and do this, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. This is how you protect your family and your future right here. Okay, well, thank y'all for watching, and I wanted to tell you, I'm not an investment advisor. I am the digital asset investor, okay? This is not financial advice. I am doing this for entertainment purposes. Y'all please subscribe. I'm about to hit 5,000, and I'm about to start live streaming, okay? Please subscribe and hit the like button as much as you can, and send my videos around to your friends and tell them about XRP. Y'all have a good weekend.